Welcome to Exotic Excursions, where we make a Destiny exotic and run through its specs. Today's exotic may have a familiar ring to it. It belongs to a family of weapons prefaced by the acronym MIDA. Currently in Destiny there are two MIDA weapons already. The Mida Multi-Tool, an exotic scout rifle, and the MIDA Mini-Tool, a legendary submachine gun that pairs with the exotic. Neither gun particularly stands out, but neither are all that bad either. Together they can increase your move speed and are a pretty fun combo of what I would like to call the casual exotic weapon. You wouldn't want to take these into a raid for sure, but planet exploration and more menial Destiny tasks for sure. These weapons have a strange past as well, with them being part of some faction called MIDA, whose acronym is unknown and whose history is not in any record that the Vanguard have, and any information about them was only recovered from the weapons themselves. Another interesting record comes from the Mida Multi-Tool, which insinuates that the gun listens and has some sort of AI attached to it that helps the user. The Mida Multi-Tool lore shares an experience of the previous user shooting at the ice and the weapon firing an incendiary round to melt the ice, and then a water purification pellet to make the melted ice drinkable. Some odd stuff for sure. So these weapons are shrouded in a bit of mystery, and I thought, what a great place to add another contender to the list of exotics. So I give you the new exotic, the MIDA Mega-Tool. The MIDA Mega-Tool is a primary first slot auto rifle. The design part of it was to be very simple and utilitarian. There isn't a lot of embellishment, more the idea that these weapons, from whatever past they come from, were mass-produced to be used by a large group. The unique features of this gun are the tri-barreled front and the Underbarrel Flamethrower. The lore of the previous MIDA weapons said that these weapons were used for guerrilla warfare of some sort, and the utility and function of this design was made for that purpose. So now let's take a look at its specs. So as I said, it is a primary first slot weapon, so it doesn't have any elemental affinity attached, but that doesn't mean it doesn't cause elemental damage, and we'll talk about that in a bit. First off, we see that it has some pretty balanced stats. It has medium impact, very high range, and pretty medium stability, handling, and reload speed. We also see that this weapon has 35 shots in its magazine and can shoot at a rate of 360 rounds per minute. This puts the firing speed on par with something like the False Promises auto rifle, a gun that is on the lower end of auto rifles, a midpoint between high-firing scout rifles and low-firing autos. So this weapon is meant to have a pretty intentional rate of fire, no spray and pray with this guy. Its description is as follows, similar to what we see on the other MIDA weapons. Select applications: long-range identifier, combative deterrent, close-range fire starter, hand warmers, stellar navigation. List continues. So, a very versatile weapon / tool whose uses are far more than what we can use in-game. Now let's take a look at the perks. We have corkscrew rifling for high stability, and high caliber rounds, which adds the impact to the gun. And the special perk for the MIDA Mega-Tool is triple barreled fire, which states that the gun fires from all three front barrels simultaneously, with each shot at full auto. This tri-shot barrel keeps the shots in a pretty tight formation for a long range, but they eventually do spread out over longer distances. And finally, we have composite stock to make sure that the stability stays at a good spot. So those are all of the weapon perks, but what about the intrinsic perk? That would be the Underbarrel Flamethrower. It says this: hold the reload button. Swap firing modes. Swapping firing modes changes the weapon from a 3-barreled auto rifle to the Underbarrel Flamethrower that does close-range solar damage to opponents. Similar to a few exotic weapons already in Destiny, this weapon has a separate firing mode. Holding down the reload button will switch to the Underbarrel Flamethrower, which, as I mentioned earlier, is where the elemental damage comes in. The Flamethrower is a much shorter range attack that eats through your remaining ammo quickly and deals solar damage to any opponents directly hit by the flames, and then small tick damage over time as the burning subsides. Switching between these modes gives good medium to long range for shots and short range to torch a mob of enemies right in front of you. So keeping with the multi-use power of the MIDA weapons, with just a little extra kick behind it. So now let's have a look at what the weapon could look like in action with a quick mock-up I have made. So as you can see in hipfire and in ADS, the gun shoots the 3 shots simultaneously together in quick succession, just taking 1 ammo each time. Then the player switches to the underbarrel mode and uses the flamethrower much more quickly, eating through their ammo until they are out. And that is the Mida Mega-Tool, A weapon of great utility and also power that can be switched around to fit almost any circumstance. I feel like often exotics only fit into one specific role and do really well in that one thing, but I wanted to make a weapon that is well-rounded to feel comfortable to take into a variety of circumstances. Thanks again for watching. If you missed my last video about Foresight, the heavy trace rifle, go and take a look. It's pretty cool. And if you have any new ideas for exotics you'd like to see, drop them down in the comments. Until next time, have a grand old day.